will not say my time acclimating to mortal life has been easy. Of the many facets of this new existence, even something as fundamental as sleep was challenging to accept. Angels have no need of slumber, and I was only vaguely aware of this concept through my past dealings with humankind. During my first days as a mortal, I fought my body's many cries for sleep until exhaustion took me. The strange dreams that followed filled me with disquiet. They were enigmas, storms of image and emotion birthed beyond rational thought. But as with other aspects of mortal life, I've come to cherish dreams. Some human seers claim they hold meaning, and I subscribe to this belief. I believe that, through dreams, mortals can at times pierce the veil of reality and touch, however briefly, the realm of pure insight. Of late, my dreams are haunted by one thing: the Black Soulstone. I see the crystal reflected in all things at all times. It has become my obsession, my purpose in life. It has driven me to act against the will of the Injurious Council and the high heavens. Horadrim, by the time you read this, you may already know of my plans for the crystal. Nonetheless, I wish to record the details here so that you may fathom the unsettling events that drove me to embark on this path, however perilous it may be. My allegiance to humans have often been questioned. I freely admit there was even a time when I regarded them as disdain, much like my angelic brethren. But upon witnessing mankind's innate potential for selflessness, I developed a deep admiration for mortals. The more I learned of them, the more I began to see my own kind in a different light. Ultimately, I became aware of a glaring flaw among the angels. Know this concerning heaven's denizens: they are immutable in their adherence to order. Laws govern their existence, guiding their every thought and action. Although this affords angels great strength and unity, it also limits their ability to act. Nowhere was this flaw more evident than in my dealings with the Injurious Council. The Archangels, Imperious, Ariel, Ethereal, Malthael, and I were bound by law not to interfere with the mortal realm. But where I only loosely followed this rule, the other council members observed it without question. They obeyed even when the prime evils moved to corrupt humanity, threatening to upset the balance of the eternal conflict. When I intervened to forestall catastrophe, the council members chastised me for my recklessness. They ignored my warnings that the burning hells would soon assault the mortal world. I came to realize how their precious laws had become more important to them than truth. No amount of arguing or persuading would ever sway them to reason. I deliberately took on the form of a mortal, sacrificing my angelic essence in response to the council's continued inaction. In doing so, I hope to set an example to the heavens, to prove that laws can be bent for a greater good. I also knew that, in time, mankind would hold immeasurable power through its Nephilim heritage. Only through standing with humans could I thwart hell's impending invasion and bridge the gaps between realms of angels and men. Looking back, I realize how unprepared I was for the realities of mortal existence. As an archangel, I had observed and interacted with humans for centuries. I had watched entire generations come and go, studying the forces that governed their lives. A time even came when I believed that I had learned all there was to know about being mortal. How wrong I was. Adria's betrayal revealed the true scope of my ignorance. On the war-torn ramparts of Bastion's Keep, the witch turned against us. She used the Black Soulstone, bristling with the 7 lords of the hells, to transform her own daughter into Diablo, the prime evil. In that moment, I questioned everything. Was it mortal weakness that had caused me and my allies to put so much blind faith in Adria? In siding with mankind, had I set the end of days in motion, delivering all creation into the clutches of evil? My mind churned with despair as Diablo stormed the realm of angels, sending waves of flame and darkness crashing over the skies of heaven. The wails of dying angels, torn apart by tendrils of living shadow, filled me with terror. The unpredictable surges of raw, untamed power of mortal emotion, something I had never truly comprehended, crippled me. The angels fared little better. The impossible had come to pass. The great diamond gates that stood unbroken throughout the eternal conflict lay in ruins. Like me, many angels conceded the inevitability of defeat, listless and dejected. But where we surrendered, my immortal allies forged ahead. They alone possessed the courage to vanquish the prime evil, casting the entity from the sacred crystal arch. The euphoria I experienced following the attack did not last. My mortal comrades soon departed, and alone I struggled to find my place among the angels. Food and other necessities of mortal lives were non-existent in heaven. Nightmares of the oppressive darkness that had swept over heaven plagued my restless sleep. Places once familiar became strange and foreboding. In my former domain, the courts of justice, fleeting visions of every angel who had perished at the hands of the prime evil assaulted me. The fallen guardians held me accountable for their deaths. Overcome with guilt, I lacked the courage to face their judgment, and so I fled. The immensity of heaven itself frightened me. I was but a mortal in this vast realm, insignificant and transient. More and more, I longed for the simplicity of my past life as an archangel, to exist unfeathered by the limitations of mortals. This yearning reached its apex during the Light Song, the creation of new angels. Throngs of heaven's denizens gathered at the crystal arch, their essence tuned in synchronicity with the monolithic structure. From this perfect harmony, angels were given life. But as a mortal, I could not take part in this subtle symphony. I could only watch as the sacred angelic rite unfolded. I was a stranger in the only place I had ever called home. Alienated and apart, I took solace in my memories of Deckard Cain, of Leia, and of the Nephilim. I looked to them for inspiration. They had all dealt with adversity and doubt. They had possessed that wondrous mortal ability to shape their outlook on the world, to find hope in despair and muster courage in the face of overwhelming fear. I relate this to you, Horvadrun, not because I claim my understanding transcends yours. Often, it takes the observation of an outsider to glean true insight about oneself. But if there's one shred of wisdom I can pass on to you, it is that the true strength of mortals come from the fact that they are forged of equal parts light and dark. From this duality springs a constant push and pull between opposing and contradictory emotions. This shifting spectrum of feeling is what grants mortal their unique perspective and freedom. Rather than cower from the sudden rush of conflicting emotions, I faced it. I adapted to it. Slowly, I began to see beyond the things that troubled me. I began to glimpse the beauty of heaven with my own new mortal eyes. I marveled at its grandeur, at the way each domain, from the great halls of the valor to the tranquil gardens of hope, had a distinct and profound effect on my mind. I began, at last, to see as mortals do. It was with this newfound perspective that I first noticed a subtle darkening to the realm of angels. Shadows dimmed the brilliant crystalline spires and colonnades. Discordant notes tainted the radiant chorus that whispered through the skies of the heavens. At the center of this growing disharmony, I beheld the Black Soulstone.